And welcome to a post-Christmas, post-holiday Locked on Astros podcast. Welcome back, Brett. We've got a lot to talk about. Welcome back, buddy. It was a long week without you, but glad to have you back. And we're going to talk a little bit about the best gift that the Astros ever got. We'll talk a little bit about the player's perspective to the lockout and a lot more on this edition of the Locked on Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chansey.
We are Locked on Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked on Astros podcast. My name is Eric Heisman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Astros. Find the show at Locked on Astros. Your team every day. Brett, where can I find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and Instagram, and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
And guys, thank you for making Locked on Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether that's on YouTube, keep on subscribing, keep on liking us, 2 thumbs up, however many thumbs up you want to give us. Just watch us on YouTube. Keep on subscribing to us. Keep those numbers rising. And if you're listening to us on the way to work, listen to us on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to our podcast. Just give us a listen, man. It'll help your morning. If you're having a bad morning, Locked on Astros podcast will help you. Yes,
Let me
Brett?
say this. Our friend Alex, congratulations on December 29th. He is opening his store. If y'all are in the area, go to the El Dorado HEB. Our friend Alex is one of the managers of that store. They're excited about the opening. I'm going to be there. My wife's going to be there. We're going to go celebrate with him doing the grand opening. So congratulations, Alex. I know you've been working hard this holiday season, stressing out and just leading the people the right way with your local HEB there over off of El Dorado. For the free plug from H-Town Wheelhouse to one of our most faithful followers in Alex.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get the show started. And since this was the season of giving, and I'm sure you got some gifts, I got some gifts, and I got to spend some time with my family and my girlfriend's daughter at Great Wolf Lodge, and it was just a night, but it was just a great experience. But let's talk about the best gift that the Astros ever got. This was an article that MLB.com did, and they said the best trade that an Astros, or it doesn't have to be a trade, but I guess the Astros was focused on a trade. And it's the most obvious one. A lot of people would say it has to be Jeff Bagwell and Jeff Bagwell for Larry Anderson. And this is something that we have mentioned several times. And this was a journeyman reliever, Larry Anderson. It just shows that why James Click didn't just go out and just trade for any reliever. This is why Teoscar Hernandez is a big example why you don't just trade a outfielder or any young star away, because you don't know what this guy is going to be for somebody like Francisco Liriano, because Liriano was not really anything, but Teoscar Hernandez became a all-star. I don't know if he's become a player of Bagwell's ability, and eventually he became a all-star, a Hall of Famer. It took him some time. It wasn't immediately, but let's just talk about that trade for a little bit.
So is Francisco Liriano the poor man's version of Randy Johnson? Because remember, we had Randy Johnson for the same amount of time we had Liriano, where he ended up being a rental. And, I remember going back on that. I remember the whole Randy Johnson thing. I don't want to go off on that, but that just made me think of that Francisco Liriano. Like, what a mistake, though, by the Boston Red Sox to give away Jeff Bagwell. I mean, this guy's from the Northeast. He was kind of a native to the area, and he ended up being one of the most decorated Astros of all time. Ended up being one of the most beloved Astros of all time, and even in the booth, man, just basically giving valuable insight. There's a little video going viral where he basically roasts Mike Fiers' tattoo of his own last name on his arm. You'll have to go find it. I believe it's Bagwell and I believe Callis or Blummer. I can't remember what the combo is, but it's pretty funny. And Bagwell, when he was here, Eric, provided the power, provided the leadership, was just the anchor for this team. Him and Biggio, one of the most dynamic duos I think to ever touch a baseball diamond, and obviously one of the most beloved athletes in Astros history. It's a shame that he didn't get to 500 home runs, but I think even without that, you got to look at his career. I love his MVP year. I hate that that was cut short. He just had some unfortunate things happen in his career, but he still managed to make it to the Hall of Fame, and
Right.
it was well deserved. I know for you, you say that when you really got into baseball, Jeff Bagwell
It was because of him. Yeah.
was that guy. And so for you, he was that guy. For even my daughter, the very first player she ever said a name of was Jeff Bagwell. We actually have a picture. They used to have those old, I think they were called Nikon photo days where you could get out on the field and take pictures with the players. And I actually have a picture with myself, Jeff Bagwell, and my daughter. She's not even like 2 years old. And she still has that picture today sitting on her dresser.
I've got a question. I mean, I know he played first base for the Astros for 15 consecutive seasons. He started an opening day lineup for the Astros, but he was only an all-star for 4 times.
Hmm.
Why was it only 4 times? I mean, is that a we don't like Houston
No,
thing, or
I
was it
think that was I don't remember all. I would have to go back and look at the first baseman in that era, but I believe that was a time where that position was probably stacked. It's kind of like right field right now, Eric. I mean, right field, whether you go National League or American League, is stacked. In the American League, you got Otani, you've got Tucker, you've got Judge. In the National League, you've got Harper, you've got Juan Soto. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
maybe I mean I just don't have my baseball
right.
encyclopedia in front of me right away. But yes, that was probably because
Yeah.
he had stiff competition. Was
I'm
it like
I'm I'm
Larry
looking at
Walker, guys like that? I can't
yeah.
remember.
I'm looking at 1998. He batted 304 with 34 home runs, 111 RBIs, 19 stolen bases. He did not win All Star. He did not make an All Star team that year. In 1995, he finished 15th in MVP that year. It must be a shortened season or something, but he batted 290, 21 home runs, 87 RBIs. I think that was a strike shortened season because remember 1994 was when they ended shortly,
Yes.
and then they tried to start this 1995 season with a bunch of scrubs, the replacement players, and then the union
Yeah.
was like, yeah, homie, ain't play that. If you're gonna be one of these replacement players, don't ever expect to play baseball in a major leagues again. I remember that very
Yeah.
specifically, but that was a shortened season. And once again, he finished 15th in MVP votes, but he didn't make the All Star team that year. In 2000, he finished seventh in MVP, 310, 47 home runs, 132 RBIs. In 2001, he finished seventh MVP, 39 home runs, 130 RBIs, 11 stolen bases, 288 batting average. So those are monster seasons. So, like you said, I guess we do have to go back and kind of compare them to the other players of those eras. But that was it's pretty monster seasons for somebody who of his caliber. So
Yeah, no, and I actually said Larry Walker. He was an outfielder. I don't know why I thought he was at first base for some reason. I
maybe
guess I
Todd
guess
Helton,
Yeah,
maybe.
okay. I was thinking maybe, yeah, maybe Todd Helton, but I was just going back. I know there were a lot of guys like John Olerud and stuff like that, but they were definitely in the American League. But back
Eh,
then, I
yeah.
mean, here's the thing. The bottom line is this: four-time All-Star. That's still pretty
Oh,
good.
I
That's
know.
that's not something to bat an
He
eye
got
at.
in the Hall of Fame. That's what he wanted.
You
So
would you would think though that he would have gotten more nods. I just can't recall the first baseman that he competed against in that era for whatever reason. I'm just not. I'm at a loss
at
for.
a certain
Well,
point, Albert
you
Pujols was involved.
you had Pujols. You also had Mark McGuire for a time in the that was in the late, that was in the late '90s. So you definitely had Mark McGuire. And remember, The All-Star game is also a popularity contest, Eric.
Right.
I remember in those dome years, they were the paper ballots. And we would get paper
Oh,
ballots,
that's right.
and this is what we would do. I don't know if I'm going to take you down memory lane. Take a stack of like 30 ballots, get them all lined up while you're watching the game, and you get the little coffee straw.
Right.
Get the little coffee straw. The coffee straw was just the right size for those holes. But if you had something like if you had a pin where like ballpoint was too big, it wouldn't poke through, it'd tear it. So we had this perfect little system, man, and we always voted the Astros. Biggio, Ashby, Craig Reynolds. I mean, Jose
Ashby.
Cruz. I mean, I'm just saying we would vote Brad Osmus, Craig Biggio. We would vote for all the Astros. It was a popularity contest, and the Astros were always our most popular guys. And of course, we'd throw in Tony Gwynn.
Right. Speaking of which, the whole Larry Walker versus Todd Helton, that sounds like you could use a Built Bar.
Well,
It's kind of late at night. And so tell us a little bit about Built Bar.
It's a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. Is yours about getting fit, eating healthier? Make sure you grab Built Bar and put that in your plan. It's a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes good. You'll want to eat it, unlike any other protein bar that are chalky, too waxy, tastes like a chemical spill. You don't want that. You want to eat healthy. So let's just get rid of the boring stuff. And so, by week 3, you might be thinking, this is just not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Well, with Built Bars, you don't have to worry about that. 100% real chocolate wrapped in every bar, 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar. You usually have around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and a dozen net carbs. It's just too much. Even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you can at least eat something that tastes good and is good for you. That way, you can enjoy a delicious Built Bar. Go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. The promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Tell them H-Town Wheelhouse sent you.
Alrighty, so you got me interested in this whole Randy Johnson trade. I don't know. I had to look this up. So Randy Johnson was not. Francisco Liriano. We can't even compare him to
No,
Randy
that's why
Johnson.
I said he was a poor man's Randy Johnson.
That's
I
not
was
even
joking.
fair. That's not even fair to Randy Johnson.
Oh,
But
I
that's
was
not
trying to
even
give Liriano some help.
no, that's not even fair to Francisco Liriano. But let's kind of go back. So on July 31st, back in 1998, Jerry Hunsinger sent Freddie Garcia and Carlos Guillen and a player to be named later, which was later John Halama.
Mhm.
And this was a Astros team that won 102 games. And this was one of the best. The Astros already had Shane Reynolds, Jose Lima, Mike Hampton. They
Mm.
had a good rotation, but a lot of people would say that they didn't have a ace. They didn't have their Justin Verlander, so to speak. So they went out and got their Justin Verlander, their Randy Johnson for the one season, the one half of the season, and he was one of the most dominating pitchers in baseball. He
Oh,
went
yeah.
10-1 with a 1.28 ERA with 116 strikeouts and 84 and 1/3 innings pitched. He in 2 starts in the division series, he had a 193 ERA in 2
Mm.
starts. He lost both games, I believe, because of stupid Kevin Brown, if I remember correctly.
Kevin
Um,
Brown, steroid user? Yes, Kevin
I
Brown.
don't know if he was using steroids, but
Yeah, he was on steroids.
okay. So the Astros didn't re-sign Randy Johnson, but that was a epic trade. That was a
Yeah.
bold trade, and I know the Astros hadn't. It was kind of like I know that Carlos Beltran was later. No, Carlos Beltran was earlier, right? The
What do you
Carlos
mean?
Beltran trade that was in '94, or when was Carlos
No,
Beltran trade?
Carlos Beltran was in 2004, 2000, no, 2005 when we went to
Okay,
the World
that's what I thought.
Series.
I was thinking
Yeah,
'94 or
it was
2004.
no, it's
Anyway,
04, 04, 05. Yeah, that's okay.
yes.
You
So
got
I
the
know that.
fours.
Yeah, I know they did they later on they did another risk with Beltran, not knowing if they're going to re-sign him or not. But with Randy Johnson, they give up Freddie Garcia. He ended up being a pretty decent pitcher.
Yeah, he was a
Uh,
good pitcher.
he won 17 games his rookie year. That's pretty good. And then Guillen became a pretty good shortstop. but he wasn't a all-star shortstop. Alama was a good, decent pitcher, but he ended up having a 5.85 ERA.
Yeah. Halama, yeah, I don't know anybody that's writing a book about that Halama part of the deal. But I remember, Eric, my dad was at that first Randy Johnson game. I believe I was away at college at the time, and he attended that game, and he said, "Oh my gosh, son, I've never seen someone pitch like this since Nolan Ryan." And he was obviously taller than Nolan Ryan, but he said it was like his arm extends all the way to home plate. He said this guy's a monster. He's absolutely intimidating. He said even in the stands, he said you could feel like Randy Johnson's presence on the mound. What what would that have done to this organization, Eric, had Randy Johnson stayed and had Randy Johnson had a prolonged career and finished his career like he did with the Diamondbacks? I mean, that would have changed a lot of things. The Astros probably could have gone back to the playoffs
I
and
don't
really
think the
been.
Diamondbacks would have won a World Series
I know,
without him.
yeah, yeah. That would have changed their
We
that would have
wouldn't have
changed
the
their
Kurt
trajectory.
Schilling's
Yeah.
bloody sock. Well,
I
maybe we
mean,
would have, but
but I'm just saying, and Kurt Schilling was
no, was
was
that with the Red Sox?
that was with the Red Sox.
Okay, never mind.
But Kurt Schilling was an Astro at one time too.
Yeah.
And so, Kurt Schilling, I mean, dude, we want to talk about going into Astros pitching history. We've had some really good pitchers, but yes, Kevin Brown, I believe, is one of those guys lumped in the whole steroid era. Unfortunately, it wasn't just hitters back then; it was pitchers as well. But that year was phenomenal. I remember that year. That was the great home run chase year. That was the year that I got to see Mark McGwire hit the 11th upper deck home run in the Astrodome. It was, watching games in the Astrodome, Eric, was so awe-inspiring as a young baseball fan growing up. And those of our listeners who got to experience games in the Astrodome, like, I love Minute Maid Park for what it offers, the intimacy of the ballpark, but nothing compares to the feeling, the old school feeling that the Astrodome gave you. You just felt like you were in a place that something special was going to happen every game, even when the Astros stunk.
Okay, so Kevin Brown signed a huge deal with $105 million with 7 years. After
And
that,
then, yeah, yeah, yep. That's what happens with long deals. Speaking of,
yeah, so that's what the Astros are very hesitant with. I mean, I know pitchers are different. With especially with the whole, I guess they're checking nowadays for the spin rate and they're checking for sticky substances nowadays, and they're looking at pitchers nowadays. I wonder if a lot of these players like Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens,
I
if
think they've always used something to
yeah,
grip the ball better, especially if the ball's as slick as it is. Now, I mean, because I mean, if you hold a baseball from an NCAA baseball game compared to a Major League Baseball, like the seams on an NCAA Division One baseball are so like they're almost distracting how raised they are. And then when you go to the major league ball, it's like you're holding a cue ball. I mean, it's very slick. The laces, you can't get a grip. Remember when the famous thing where like Justin Verlander seemed to throw away almost every ball that he was tossed because he was like the ball didn't feel right, something wasn't right with the ball, and you know that's been an issue. To kind of hit on the spider tack thing, I don't necessarily have an issue with the spider tack because hitters were still hitting, Eric. Um, and the hitters actually say, I prefer not to be hit in between my shoulder blades with the fastball or with something that gets away from a pitcher that they're throwing hard. So, yeah, I'm sure back then they were using rosin, some pine tar, some sweat, some sunscreen, whatever the magic mixture was at the time.
yeah. So anyway, I didn't mean to go off on
Oh,
tangent
that's
here,
okay.
but yeah, I just remember that Kevin
This is
Brown moment.
tangent season, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we got nothing else to talk about. We can't talk about Carlos Correa to death. Like, is he going to sign with the Astros or is he going to sign with
But
the Dodgers?
Carlos Correa, did you see the Christmas picture?
What?
On Instagram, his whole family's in this picture, and one of his aunts has an Angels jacket on. And someone no, and then so get this. So then it was like Angels are like, Carlos, we love you. You're an angel or whatever. And then someone zoomed in on his socks. He's wearing red socks, and they're like, Carlos to the Red Sox confirmed. And so they were taking
Do they
every
have an
part of that.
Astros jersey in background?
No,
Astros.
there's nothing Astros. But what was funny was because I didn't even notice he had red socks on until some jamoke like zoomed in just on his socks and it said Carlos to the Red Sox confirmed. It was hilarious. So Carlos knows exactly what he's doing. He is playing the cards. He is staying in the
The whole
forefront
Cubs
of the
thing.
news.
The whole Cubs
The
thing, like
Cubs
replying to
thing
the Cubs
with
saying,
the blue
yeah,
heart, and oh yeah, it's all a ruse, and it's all entertainment for these guys laughing because he knows I'm gonna get paid.
yeah. It's like he's betting on himself. He's betting on
He
just
is.
making playing the right cards. And speaking of which, let's talk about betonline.ag.
So BetOnline has you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. The football season continues to march through the college bowl season and the pro football playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one sport for all sports action this season. Are the Dallas Cowboys going to bow out of the playoffs early, or are they going to make a Super Bowl run? Head to the website and use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use a promo code locked on to receive your bonus. Will the Texans rookie quarterback Davis Mills win Rookie of the Year? I don't know, but from basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, so don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available. BetOnline, where the game starts.
And thank you for making Locked On Astros your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. So keep on listening, keep on subscribing to us on YouTube, keep on listening to us on your way to and from work every day, and keep on listening. So I wanted to. I know we talked about this pre-show, and I know that there's a couple of players on another podcast,
Yeah.
and they're talking about what's going on with the lockout, and there doesn't seem to be too much traction, like anything going on, and they're kind of throwing some shade at somebody.
Well, they're basically throwing shade at Major League Baseball. They said that, look, here's the deal. We made the offer. We want more money. We want more of the pie. We want fewer years in reserve so that we can get so like our service time clocks are killing us because what's happening is you have three different type of players, Eric. You have the high school draftee, you have the maybe like junior college draftee, and then you have like your college player draftee, where if you're a college player and you play all 4 years, you don't get to the majors till you're 23, 24. And that means your free agency year doesn't come up to you're almost 30 or right at 30. And where someone like Vlad Guerrero Jr. comes in really, really young into the league, or even Tatis Jr., where they come in really young, they can sign at an earlier age. And so the players basically want a greater share. They want free agency to be sooner because they don't want to wait to get their earning potential. And the players are like, look, the people are saying we're all about the money, but wouldn't you want to earn the most you could at the peak of your career, especially if this is a performance based type of business, right? It's like, what have you done for me lately? Or what can you do for me? Because it's all about projectability, really, at this point. So the players have an offer, and they said we didn't have to be locked out, but the lockout has affected players that are rehabbing. The lockout has affected players that are trying to come back from injuries. And the players are like, we could have just kept negotiating through this whole time without being locked out. But they just said, nope, we don't like your offer. And they said, what the league doesn't understand is we're not going to bet against ourselves. We're not going to counter offer our own offer. So the league, basically, the ball's in the league's court. And the league chose to basically close the door, turn their head, let the kids cry in the room, and hopefully they'll stop crying and go to sleep so we can move on with our business. And I think that's what's going to happen. And it seems like it's going to take the full 6 weeks time between now and spring training.
And didn't Simeon just get his money too? And he's
Yeah, Marcus. So okay, yeah. So I'm referencing what's known as the Rosen rotation. It was Marcus Simeon, Lucas Giolito, and Zach Britton. And Marcus Simeon said, he goes, there are superstars, and not just superstars that are wanting to get paid, that deserve to get paid, but other players that may not necessarily be superstars, but they have potential to earn more money than they've ever earned in their entire life. And until this deal gets done, that's not going to happen. Everybody deserves to be paid what their market value is. And that's all we're asking for. And, the bottom line is, Eric, I have a question. Do you think the owners would do this even if 2020 didn't happen? Or do you think 2020 compounded the issue and made it even worse as far as the owners wanting to give up more?
I think that 2020 hurt the bottom line a lot. I think that teams like the Astros that went to the World Series in 2021, they made up a lot for it. The Braves probably made up a lot for it, and all the teams that went to the playoffs probably went up a lot for it. But at the same time, it's a league issue. It's not just a individual team issue. So
Right.
Rob Manfred is not just looking at the Astros. They're fine. They're looking at all the other teams, and honestly, the league is not caring about the Astros. They're like, oh, the Astros, who cares? But so I don't really know the answer to that. I just think that they're looking at the situation and they're wanting to stop spending. They're the ones spending at the same time, but they're also wanting to stop free agency from starting early because they know where this is going to lead.
Oh
It's going
yeah.
to lead to free
It
agency.
means they're going to be paying
Yeah,
more sooner.
right,
And that's what's interesting, Eric, about this argument is you can listen to both sides. And some people say, I cannot believe you'd even listen to a billionaire. Why? Like people act like, no, there are two sides of this.
right,
And people that are always arguing against billionaires or mad at rich people, I mean, probably haven't had a whole lot of success in their life. It's not as easy as, okay, I'll just give my money away. It's not that simple. It's really not. And some people say, oh man, H. John Wellhouse is sitting there siding with the owners. I'm not. You have real people on both sides. Now, I think the owners have more room to give than the players do, and I think the owners should. I'm
right.
with the players on this.
All right. We're going to actually go through the whole list tomorrow, but I want to just go and tease you with a few of the teams. Uh, this is the biggest contract ever given by these teams. So, which player do you think the Blue Jays gave the highest contract to in history?
In history,
Yes,
oh
it's
gosh,
really recent.
George Springer?
Yes, George Springer, 6 years, 150 million this year. And which one player do you think the Padres gave the highest contract to?
Well, it's Fernando Tatis.
Yes, that was where is that? That is well, we all know what that is. I lost it. There's a lot of what about it's 14 years, 340 million.
Right.
What about the Mets?
That would be Lindor.
Right. You see what I'm saying here. And what about the Rangers?
That would be Corey Seager.
Yes. What about the Rays?
Oh, the Rays. Why would you throw a wrench at me like that? Oh, Wander Franco?
Right. Do
Okay.
you see where I'm going? There's a lot of money being thrown around right now, and
Yeah.
so we have some of the teams that have thrown a lot of money out that they have never thrown out before. So teams are saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! We need to stop doing
I
this."
will say this, though. That Tatis deal was actually really good for the
Well,
Padres.
I know. I'm not saying that
So, no, I'm just
for the
saying,
Padres, but yeah,
yeah, it was actually
and
got him on the cheap.
Wander Franco is probably gonna be a good deal. It's
Definitely, yeah,
very
and
team
see,
friendly.
what's interesting about those deals is the players' union, I don't think likes deals like that.
Right.
And from what I understand, Tatis Jr. owed a lot of money to agents prior to him being signed because he like signed this like I guess like an IOU type contract. When I get paid, like he like 20 or 30% of his salary is gone. Like it goes to these people he owes money to, and so he's not making as much as everybody thinks he is.
Right. So, but at the same time, these guys are also buying out their free agent years at this. So they're
That's true.
limiting their earning potential by making the money now. And so that's what a lot the Astros tried to do with George Springer. That's what the Astros tried to do with John Singleton. Hey, they got him to bite, but it didn't work. And so that's what a lot of teams try to do to try to avoid the whole arbitration, the whole free agent situation. But anyway, that's all we got. So I hope you had a great holidays, and we'll be back again tomorrow for another Locked On Astros podcast. Keep on listening, keep on subscribing to us on YouTube, and hope you had a great one. And we'll see you tomorrow. Go Stros.